Welcome to the Extra Time Podcast, where you'll hear sports stories you might not have heard about from people you might not have heard of. Let's get into this week's show.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of the Extra Time Podcast. I'm back here again with my great mate Mark Woods. Mark, how you going?
I'm doing all right. Excited for the Olympics. I think you can see I'm in the Olympic spirit.
We've got the green and gold flowing today. I don't have too much of it. I just found this hat. It's actually a Sprite hat. I'll let you all know at home. But wearing the green part of it, lacking the gold. But I've got the flag, got the jumpers on. You'll see that today, and we'll probably have that on for the next few weeks. It's Olympic time. But something else that I've been waiting for, like the Olympics, for a very long time. One of our great friends, one of the best sporting minds that I know, and I can't believe it's taken this long. I should have asked you on a lot earlier, but we've got Jack Speechley with us today. Welcome in, Jack.
Thanks, Boxy. Good to finally be here. Loved watching you boys. Talk a lot of sport over the last how many weeks, and good to finally be in the chair and chat some footy and sport around the globe with you boys. Really excited.
It's exactly what we'll be doing, and things change, Woods. I think people are probably getting a bit tired at home of the way we do things, so we've changed it around today. I'm not a big fan of change, but it's just how the world is these days. So we're going to crack into Aussies Around The Grounds a bit earlier because, as you'll see, Speech is wearing some papaya, not orange, papaya. They get pretty annoyed if you say orange. Wearing the papaya because, of course, Oscar Piastri was victorious. So we'll get to that. A lot of Aussie flavour in this podcast, but I want to start just quickly, as we usually do. Some things are still running in order, and that's why we play. And I don't think there will ever be a better option for this segment than this. This is exactly what not only this segment is about, but what we are about at Extra Time. Not many people may have heard about this. I know I didn't until a few days ago. Hats off to Channel 9 for, doing that documentary on the selection process for a lot of sports in the Olympic Games, which, like we said off the top, kicks off this weekend in Paris. This is Jean Mitchell, and she is a Rosella officially. You're a keen viewer, you know the Rosellas are our rowing team, newly branded. We're loving it. But Jean had a brain tumour develop when she was 16. Turns out to be brain cancer, which is just, you can't really think of too many worse things in life as we know it, especially being so young. It's just remarkable. She was a very fit young woman as well, and training very hard, rowing, and very talented as well. But went through a few, obviously, bouts of chemotherapy, and obviously if anyone has cancer, it's not a certainty that you make it, really. And she was close to not making it, but she got through, and now, 8 years later, she's come back to rowing. Not only has she come back to her club, but she's started representing the country and doing very well, and she is now officially an Olympian. So I think that is sort of, I don't need to say too much more about this story. It's not just why we play, but it just gets you going. It's why you live. It's why you wake up in the morning to hear about stuff like this. And it's exactly who we are as a country, I think. Regardless of how well Jean does, we hope she does really well along with her team. But regardless of how well she does, you're just so amazed about how far she's come. There was a quote I saw in one of the stories I read this morning about how she doesn't really mind how well she does either. Of course you want to do well. You want to win a gold medal. Everybody does. But she said, I'm just going to take it in as it goes because, to be honest, I was so damn close to death. Anything from now on is just amazing for me. And she'll be representing the country. It's incredibly inspiring. And James Tompkins, one of our best in the sport, actually said, and I kept this quote from the 9 doco on Monday night. He said, it's stuff like this that makes you think, how can you not be romantic about sport? That is what it is to me. It's not about the results as much. You love the results, sure. You love winning gold medals. You love winning premierships. But it's these stories for me, which is why I follow sport, and it's sort of the person I am. And I think it's the person a lot of people like being. And it's just the stories in sport that draw you to these people, no matter who they play for, where they're from. And I think that's why me personally, I support a lot of different teams, and people might not like that. But when you've got stories like this, how can you not? How can you not be romantic about it? And it draws you in as a person to unite as a human race, which is, it's the answer, really. Love is the answer. And someone that I wanted to put on for a few weeks that has shown that is that fella with the saxophone at the Euros, which is the same thing. It's just bringing people together through not much other than human love and spirit. So congratulations to Jean. The best part about it is she's dreamed of this her whole life. As a little kid, she wanted to, represent Australia at the Olympics in rowing, and now she gets to do that. So all the best to her. And yeah, keeping the Aussie flavour going. It's about that time. I didn't want to hold speech up too long because I know he just wants to get out and talk about this. It's Aussies Around the Grounds, and it is early, Woods, but I hope you're okay with that because Oscar Piastri, the Brighton boy, Melbourne, seriously, if you don't get up and about from this, I don't know what the bloody hell you're doing because far out, mate. It was incredible. First Australian to grace the top step, win a Formula One Grand Prix. He won a sprint race, that doesn't really matter. Win a Formula One Grand Prix since, of course, Daniel Ricciardo in 2021 for the same team. I think he's the 5th Aussie winner in history, and he's only about 35 races in. He is something, this kid, Speech.
I know, it was, from qualifying on Saturday, only, 0.2 seconds behind Lando. I know you said it earlier, you just had this feeling that, looking at the grid, there was something about it. He's been close. He's had a few tyre management issues, but the way he started that race and got around the corner with Max and Lando fighting, and he just zoomed away really from there. Obviously, it was a little bittersweet with how it ended with the whole crisscross with Lando, and as a McLaren fan, it was it's our first one too since Danny, Rick, and Lando in 2021. But as an Aussie, it was just it's just so hard to bring the words for it. I love him so much, and it was just for him to finally cross that checkered flag in front and to get to the top of that podium, as you said, it's an amazing feeling for Australia. The feeling on a Sunday night at 12 a.m, 1 a.m. Like most people, it's normal to sort of be a bit tired, a bit down, and I felt like I could have run out a marathon because, and you're right, the joy was taking out of it a little bit, and you don't have to, live under a rock to, everybody knows that. Everybody that follows F1 knows that there was a part there where it thought it wouldn't happen, but we'll just focus on the positives for now because it is a big talking point the other way. But that move he was able to make, and he was a little bit favoured, the first corner obviously being a right-hand turn, and he was in starting second, which is on the right-hand side. But Lando Norris, his teammate who was beside him on pole, he did very well to cover him off. And I think in the end it was my boy Max Verstappen that probably helped Oscar a lot because he was roaring down the outside of Lando Norris. So it made Lando very nervous. And it's a crazy stat because Norris has had about 5 or 6 pole positions. He's lost them all. But every single one to a different driver. So it's not like, he's always losing them to Max because he's quicker. He just gets nervous off the start when he starts in the first position. And that happened again. Max coming down his left-hand side, who is his championship rival at the moment. So I think he was covering Oscar pretty well. If you watch the replay, he's just gunning for that inside. He never deviated, which is very good racing from him. They're about the same in speeds, driving the same car. Very, very quick, that McLaren. But it was when Max came around the outside on Norris's left that he got a little bit worried and started to cover off, started to give Oscar just enough room to make that move down the inside, which is a race-winning move. And people think you're crazy if they don't follow F1 for saying you make a race-winning move on lap 1. But often that's what it is. And if, all things being even, as in the end they were, that's how you win races, especially against your teammate, if you just straight out beat them with a racing manoeuvre. There was a little bit of controversy when Max was allegedly shoved around the outside of turn 1 and he took the second spot, which allowed Oscar to drive away. So, yeah, my boy, the Dutchman, helped out Oscar a little bit. But when he turned that first corner, Speech, and he was in the lead, I jumped off the couch. Because at that point, he's got the car that's quicker than the rest. And it's not just like any other young guy. It's not just like any other driver on the grid, really. Like, you back this kid's talent in to get the job done. Even if you had to fight Norris, which is a big call. Because, like I said, he's only like 34 races in. But I've been saying it on the podcast before. Woods obviously doesn't follow too much because he's not a big F1 person. That is fine. And I know that at times when I've said, buy stock into Oscar Piastri, he's a champion, he's probably thought, he's in his second season. What are you talking about? This is exactly what I'm talking about. He has the complete skill set. But the thing with Oscar Piastri for me is his mindset and the way he acts and how mature he is. Yeah. It's phenomenal. It's well beyond his years, I reckon. 100%. I mean, obviously with, how it how it all went down in the end. Like, he probably would have been in his right mind to, say, like, he deserved the win. It was, it was his race to win, which it was in the end. But he didn't say anything. He was, very accepting of, it wasn't ideal, but it's just the maturity that he has on his head, really, that, but it's still a race win, and it's the first of so many more. If McLaren keeps up that car, it's not going to be far away before he could really, really challenge for World Drivers' Championship for sure.
100%. And they're clearly the best car in it at the moment. And, that's the main thing. Like F1, a lot of people say there's 3 things that make you a champion in Formula 1. First is how good you are as a driver. The second is how good your car is. And the third is your strategy. I think the only thing that's stopping your team at the moment, the team in Papaya, is the boffins behind the computers.
100%.
Because the 2 drivers, as much as I hate Lando Norris, not just because of what happened, because of the way he's been acting and because he's a pom. But as much as I hate him, he's an extremely talented driver. Oscar is every bit a talented driver as well. We saw that in qualifying, in the tough conditions. Not even Max could touch them, to a point where, this is the reigning 2-time world champion, right? Pulling out of qualifying early, before it was even over. Because McLaren were 1 and 2 ahead of him. He was pretty much the only one that had a chance to go faster. And Red Bull said, we don't have a chance to beat them. They're too good. They're too quick. So you don't see that in too many sports. So they've got so much going for them. And Oscar was, like you said, Speech, so close to that P1. He would have been, P1 a few weeks ago in Austria when he just messed up track limits at the end. He's been so unlucky. And Mark Webber said that. One of his best quotes from the weekend, Mark, obviously his mentor, he said, I know he's only about 35 races in, but he's been so unlucky and his race win should have come earlier, which is crazy to say. Like, I don't know of, there's probably been heaps, but it's a massive call to say he's the best since Lewis, but Lewis was good way earlier. But it's the same sort of thing. Max was good pretty early, and now Oscar's a race winner just over 30 races in. Like, this is the sort of things that champions, it's like prerequisites almost. Yeah. A lot of the best talents, a lot of the champions, at least the recent ones, there's only been 2 or 3, but they've won really early, and they've showed that championship pedigree really early. So Oscar has that, and like you said, he might even fight this year because it's pretty tight. He's the 7th race winner, so best season we've had since 2021, hands down. Maybe not if you're a Max fan, but either way. Max is ahead still by a good, 70, 68 points.
Yeah.
But then from second to Oscar in 5th, it's pretty close. He's only 40 points behind his teammate, which is the main danger because they're in the same machinery. Lando's very talented. And the 2 Ferraris are ahead, and they are a proven flight risk. Yeah. Because the 3 things I mentioned before, their strategy is touchy. Don't ask Charles Leclerc about that. Their car is not actually looking that great. And the drivers are great, but when you don't have those 2 other things, it makes it very hard. So if Oscar keeps it up, he might just tap Nando on the shoulder in second quite soon. And then who knows what will happen after that because Red Bull are blowing up. But for the kid who grew up in Melbourne, to be in Melbourne, to be a Victorian on Sunday night was pretty damn good. And we follow the sport because of, we follow teams.
You follow stars, don't you?
I follow Max Verstappen, but Australians are always first.
I think Australians are really following Oscar.
They're always first.
And now, question. There are a few things on social media, but can I see your phone? So, yep. So, I'll just chuck it up here. That's his lock screen. That is Boxy's lock screen on the right over there or the left, whichever way you're looking at it.
I've had a bit of fun recently. I've been actually swapping my lock screen most weekends. I've got, because how on the iPhone these days you can have 30 of them. Yeah. So I had John Newcomb on Saturday night. You'll see that photo a bit later. I had a really cool one of Lewis Hamilton a few weeks before, and this goes back to how I support a lot of different people. I don't really mind if you want to give me a bit of stick about not being loyal. I'm a loyal person.
Oh, no, I don't mind that. I think I haven't changed my lock screen since 2020.
And then this one is just something that I'll probably end up keeping, even though I've swapped them around a lot. I'll probably have this for a few weeks because it's just special. Like I said before, I follow Max. He is like my driver. I love Lewis Hamilton as well. I love a lot of them. I love Hawthorn, but I love a lot of teams, a lot of other athletes. But in international sport, It's the same thing. Like, I'm a Lakers fan, but if Josh Giddey goes off and beats us, I'm more happy because he's Australian.
Yeah.
Because Australians always come first, and especially in a sport
And
that has about 5 or 6 British drivers. The commentators are all biased towards the British drivers because they're British. All the history is stacked against Australians. We've only had a couple people get close to or win a world championship, and we've only had about 5 or 6 ever win a race. So when it happens, it's a pretty good time.
It's a big deal, yeah. So talk us through that middle photo there.
So I have a bit of a tradition, and this started, like I said, a few years ago because they are pretty rare. Going on, probably the last time they weren't rare was Danny Rick when he was at Red Bull. But yeah, when an Australian wins, you do a shoey. It's just what you do. I don't think Oscar did one. I was a little bit disappointed. He did one at Silverstone on the crowd stage, but he didn't do one when he won. But that's just him. People are saying he's, and you probably won't get this, but people are saying he's the new Kimi Räikkönen, who was a champion, an absolute star.
Yeah, I know the name.
Yeah, but he was just
that was around my time, mate.
He
Michael
was.
Kimi Räikkönen.
Kimi was
You wouldn't get it. You don't get F1. No, I understand the names, mate.
he was a absolute no nonsense. Wouldn't say much. When he did, it was great, just like Oscar.
Yep.
But he had his head screwed on.
But that's what you need in F1.
But he didn't
Like,
celebrate
you've got
too
the
much.
characters, but you also need the people that are like the Verstappens, that are, I guess, the Hamiltons as well. They're in it to win.
And
And
part
they're not in it to make up the numbers. And I think Piastri is a great example of that, where he's there to be the best Australian driver of F1 there has been. And
so
until there's another Aussie, it's Piastri time.
it is. And yeah, the story was done. A little of it was spilt, but it was successful because I got it all down through the shoe.
And
He won the race.
Asahi and a New Balance. That is the
Yeah, well,
choice for the shoeys. A New Balance and an Asahi. How do you like? Let's
only
talk
thing I
about,
had in the fridge, mate.
let's talk about that combination of a shoey.
I mean, you're not really going to get much from me, the non-alcohol drinker. My shoe is your Gatorade, really. But
No,
You
but
can thank my mate Elijah Cousins. I'm sure he doesn't watch, but he's
so
he's the
New
corporate
Balance.
of that.
so New
he bought
Balance
that
and
slab.
Asahi. Let us know your combinations.
I've got the hoof on at the moment.
So that is the exact shoe.
came out well.
That's the one. So yeah, but it's just it's not like I'm doing it every week. Maybe Oscar will prove me wrong,
Well,
and I'll be doing it
Let
this
us know
weekend. but
every time you.
every time an
Oscar
Australian wins,
Every time.
I don't know why more people don't do it.
Why don't we do every gold medal?
Yeah, well,
No,
that might
not
get
gonna go. Not
the
gonna
shoes.
go.
The shoes,
First, that could
Yeah,
be dangerous.
the shoes might
It's
get
easy for you. It's non-alcoholic.
shoes might get a bit mouldy if you do that. But
But I'm interested to see the next Oscar win and what combination you go here with. Will you go the New Balance?
you're
and
after a
Asahi, or-
change. Okay.
I'm interested to see next time it happens what combination. I want
The
to
other
see
reason
photos.
it was successful is because my gorgeous girlfriend Sophie was fast asleep. She had a shift which starts at 6:37 in the morning, the next morning, and this is 1 a.m. So I was able to celebrate, yell quietly enough to not wake her up. So I did
That
quite
is
well
quite
there.
impressive.
great.
I think I
Well,
ended up,
looking after Sophie, very good.
yeah, and I enjoyed the win as much as I could. But yeah, part of the joy was sapped because I'm going to try and put it in short here. Basically, Oscar was in the lead. Lando Norris was second. His teammate, who is a lot closer in the championship standings, is also a flog. I didn't say that. And they pitted Lando Norris first, which actually put him into the lead after Oscar pitted behind him. And the team basically said, you need to give this spot back to Oscar. He was in the lead. This is his win. You'll come second. We need to do this. And it took him about 25 laps and 55 radio messages from his very annoyed radio engineer to actually finally give it back with about 4 laps to go, which is fine. And we will be never more grateful to Lando Norris for that, because all of Britain is saying that he should have just raced on. He's the one that's fighting for the championship. We hate Britain. They're doing the Jimmy Bairstow. In the spirit of racing, Lando Norris still won.
I'm not going to comment on that.
But anyway, it did sap a little bit of the, seeing Oscar lead the race for the last 20 laps as he should have, as he was as meant to, as you usually do in your first win. And then, after the race, he didn't really celebrate, which part of that could have been how he wasn't able to enjoy it. Part of that was probably just Oscar being Oscar. He's not a guy that goes, whoa, like, pumped. He's never been that. He's won his championships in F2 and F3. He's not a guy that carries on. But we love that about him. And I actually think if you really know Oscar, which I know all our Aussie fans do, He's actually way more like that now, because when he first came in, he used to say absolutely nothing. He was like no personality. And it's a big part of the sport at the moment because there's so much social media interaction. You have to be, like we've seen, Daniel Ricciardo is the most marketable person in F1 because he's all personality. Yeah. But Oscar's not trying to make himself that. Like he's not like, he's not trying to put it on and be fake. He's just like, I'm a little bit more reserved, and that's fine. But he's actually, the stuff he does come out with is elite. And if you want to be entertained every race weekend and you're on Twitter, go follow Nicole Piastri, his mum. It is absolutely elite stuff. Like the first one was, all right, 6 a.m. Pilates cancelled with a champagne emoji. And then the next one was her just like jumping in the air, no caption. And it's elite stuff. And he's just the perfect Aussie personality in his own way, different to Daniel, which is more than I can ask for. You don't want them to be the same and trying to overtake each other. So we absolutely love Oscar. And then, just the simple celebration. Not too much of a celebration on the podium either. Just,
more celebration in the boxy house.
It's like it's like he's sort of going, well, yeah, I'm here and I'm going to do this for a long time.
Yeah, get used to it.
And I hope he is. But someone that unfortunately hasn't been doing it for a while is our other Aussie, Max Verstappen is the next person I was going to talk about.
Our other Aussie, Max Verstappen, is that what I?
Our other Aussie, Daniel Ricciardo, who might be Max Verstappen's teammate very shortly. Max himself, just a quick one on him. I've always got to slip him in, Woodsy. I know you love that. He just wasn't happy on the weekend because, long story short, I think Red Bull Racing is about to blow up. Backside up, it is about to go because everybody in world sport probably knows this. At the start of the season, there was big controversy with Mr. Horner. Mr. Horn was a little bit horny and decided to illegally sort of have relations with someone in the team. Not great. Again, all alleged, but some things have been proven. And then there's heads butting between he and Jos Verstappen, who is Max's dad, who has no real part in the team but thinks he owns it because he's a genuine, you know what. Incredible that he's produced such an awesome person. Anyway. And then there's Helmut Marko, who basically runs the drivers but doesn't do heaps, but actually does. So there's a lot of power-hungry people at Red Bull Racing, but there's only so much power to go around. And I think at the start of the year, just to give my thoughts on it in short, it all went under the rug because Max won 7 in a row. He was looking great. They were going to win the championship again by heaps, as they did last year. What rumours? What, power battle? What driver issues with Perez becoming completely incompetent? Wasn't there. Max hasn't won a race in 3 races. Mind you, for the first time in 930 days. So to put that in there. But they're not winning now to cover it upwards, which is an absolute PR nightmare in first. So I think that's putting pressure on Max because he has to carry the team because Sergio Perez, his teammate, crashed again in the first qualifying session. He scored points, but he's costing them money. And he hasn't scored decent points in ages. So he looks like he's out, but then Marco's saying, no, we'll give him another go. He's signed a contract. It's a mess there. Max has got all the pressure on to fight with the faster cars at the front when his car is being overtaken. So he's furious. He was furious with his race engineer. He was furious with the other drivers. He was furious with the media on the weekend. And you only see that sort of Max when he's under pressure and he knows that he doesn't like where he is. And why would you? It's a mess. I think he needs to leave, but I don't think Jos is going to let him. So it's all going to blow up, is what I'm saying. But hopefully it blows up in the right way for us, and this fella can join the team. I know I'm saying it's a mess, and you don't want to be a part of it, and I want Max to be a part of it, but this bloke's team's more of a mess in terms of the strategies they give him. So, basically, Sergio Perez, who has crashed pretty much every weekend for the last month after signing his contract, is under a lot of pressure to keep his drive with Red Bull. And there's a few people up for that, as we've been talking about in the last few weeks. One of those is Yuki Tsunoda, the young Japanese driver, pretty talented. Crashed as well on the weekend. 68 Gs too, by the way, which is a lot of Gs, a lot of force. And Liam Lawson, the young Kiwi, who's hanging on, just sticking around. He's never driven properly in F1 before. And, of course, Daniel Ricciardo, he was lightning quick. He was the quickest in the first qualifying session. He was almost dancing on Perez's grave for a bit there when that came up. I was pretty hyped. And then it was really, really quick in the race, quicker than his teammate. And they just decided to just pit him in the middle of traffic. and just send him right back down to P20, and he didn't score. It was, I was speechless, to be honest. It wasn't.
I know someone that's followed Danny Rick for ages, and massive fan of him, and always wanted to do well. Is seeing him go P1 and Q1 was like,
and it was a fucking good lap.
Was quick. He was almost perfect.
Made
especially on
Q3
those
as well.
tyres. And then just it was almost blink and you miss it with Danny Rick. Up there fighting for points, and then all of a sudden, he's basically out of the race.
It was a very missable thing. He was there. He pitted really early, which was a weird idea.
Yeah.
But he still managed to be up with the points. And then they just, like no one else had pitted in any laps around him. They just pulled him in. And I was just like, okay. Turns out, I think the pit stop that cost him points was the quickest of the day. But it doesn't matter because you still lose 20 seconds and lost him crucial points that would have put that perfect little bit more pressure on Perez, on Red Bull. But it's so tough. They've given Perez another shot. They said, obviously, Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix this Sunday, is the last one before we're off for about 3 or 4 weeks for summer, European summer. And they've said, basically, Perez, he'll show up in Spa, we'll keep him on. But if he doesn't, and Daniel Ricciardo does, he could be in different colours after the break. Hopefully we'll see that. Wasn't great for him on the weekend, like I said. But Oscar is a genuine chance. Moving on now from Formula One to the NBA. We mentioned this last week, but we weren't sure. Now we can be sure. Jack McVeigh has officially signed a 2-way contract with the Houston Rockets. I absolutely love this. And you see the photo there. Like I said before, great for us because the Jack Jumpers won't have him, hopefully. So good for you, Melbourne United fans, but just great for Aussies because this guy's worked so hard. He's such a great player, but he's an awesome person. And I'm not sure if I included it, but I had a quote he actually posted himself about his biggest regret. And it's such great self-awareness to have. He said, I was over there in college a few years ago in America and I was great and I could have gone somewhere, but he regrets it because he wasn't being himself. He was trying too hard to score and dominate. There it is. And he was trying to be a person that he wasn't, and he regrets it. And it's a brave person and a real person that has regrets and owns them. Yep. Let alone posting them to his thousands of followers. So could not have more respect for Jackie McVeigh. He's a self-aware guy, which are some of the strongest men you can know. So I am just so excited for what he can do for the Boomers, but then also in the red and white for the Rockets as well. Bit of a rivalry there with your Spurs. Hopefully they knock them off.
I don't know, 4 times a season. Hopefully get to watch them a few times.
Speaking of Jack and the Boomers, they kick off their, we'll call it a season, their tournament, their Olympic quest for some more rose gold or maybe some silver and gold. This Saturday night it is. Prime time against Spain, who are probably the country in the world with the most sporting momentum at the moment with Carlos Alcaraz and winning the Euros. And I think it was Jock Landale who was talking about a little bit of a rivalry recently between Australia and Spain. There always has been as well, dating back to obviously Gazy and the boys. Spain are always great. This is going to be a massive game. But we're coming off some form out of nowhere speech. A fella Victor Wembanyama and France, the home side, were defeated by the Boomers the other day.
I couldn't believe that. Watching that play at the end when Daniels had that backdoor cut, I was just fully expecting Wemby to knock that into next Tuesday. But Dyson, full credit, that was an insane finish. And yeah, this is the way we played in that game. Like Paddy's back. Yeah. First couple of games, it was looking like he was only going to be there for his experience. He was building houses out there. But,
he was.
But he's back. FIBA Paddy is back. He's knocking down. He's 3 straight games of 20 or close to. He's been pretty good. So hopefully he can keep that up and he's going to be integral because a lot of our players aren't great at creating their own shots. That's where Giddy will be important to create players, and Paddy to create his own shots will be massive. So
huge.
Really
and you're exactly right. The right players stood up the right times in that one. And yes, it's a warm-up game, so maybe you might say, France were just feeling themselves out. They're a new lineup, whereas a lot of our players have played together before. Whatever you want to say about that. But it's still a massive game because it is Australia, who are a former medalist, against the home nation. Who cares what it is? Everyone can see how much the US are pumping up all of their games, regardless of who it is. They nearly lost to South Sudan, which is a sports story of the week, I reckon.
Yeah.
And they were great. Like last time They played international basketball, South Sudan. They were phenomenal. And they're another, they could have been on my This Is Why We Play as well, because they don't even have an indoor basketball court in the country. They're just a bunch of blokes just off pure hunger going out there against the best team in the world with potentially the best player ever, who eventually was the difference why they lost. But one bloke had a triple-double. Like, this is against, like, literally the Avengers, they're calling them. So it's just great. Like, it's why you love Olympic sport and Olympic basketball especially. But, yeah, I think our key players are standing up the right. I love the way Josh Giddey is running the offense. It looks like young Josh at Oklahoma City, which he's lost in the last year and a bit for good reasons. Like, stuff's happened in his life. But when he has the keys and he runs it at his pace, it's slow enough that people go, they sort of second guess. But it's quick enough that if you miss, like that backdoor cut, when they didn't quite, take Dyson, he hits you. And he can hit every pass in the book. Obviously, he's not a shooter, but he doesn't care anymore. He's like, I'll just set the table for all of you guys. And on Paddy, I think the best thing I heard was Gazy sort of saying, look, everyone was on his back after those warm-ups in Australia because he was bad. But it was the same thing last time. He was bad before they left Australia. And everyone's like, he's done. Like, why is he? And then he goes and pops off in the actual stuff. Yeah. And that's what Pat Mills is about. He just runs the country, mate. Put it on his back and he'll take us there. I think he is crucial. But France is the story as well. 0-5 in their game. They haven't won a game yet. I think it's Rudy Gobert's fault. But that's probably an easy out. But it would be funny to see them go down early on their home deck. It's always good to see, your rivals go like that. But I just don't think that'll happen because they have the alien and he is a serious player. Unfortunately, we might lose Dante Exum. Not sure.
I think I saw a report earlier today that he's fine. It's all clear.
He's a tough guy.
But he looked bad.
Yeah.
So it's quite lucky that he's come out pretty good.
He's a tough guy, but he's had a lot of tough injuries throughout his career as well. So I don't know. Maybe they could have used that as an excuse to bring over Matisse or CG because they're just sitting at home. They could be used. Anyway, it is what it is. I'd love to see us play with a complete game, inside out. The bigs have really got to show up, especially against, we're going to have Giannis, we're going to have all the Spanish bigs who are really skilled European players. We're playing the European version as well, which is big. And then who else? We've got France again, I think. Are they in our group?
Germany, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're going to have to play some big guys down there, so they need to be massive. Paddy needs to keep going, but I've got a lot of faith in the offense when it's run by Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
I think we'll be right. And then the Opals as well. I think they kick off their quest on Monday night. I think I saw.
I think so, yeah.
Could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they have 3 games in their pool as well, which are absolutely huge. And I think anything's possible with them too. We mentioned last week, or maybe the week before, great to see Jade Melbourne, Gippsland product out there. She's an absolute star. One of the youngest players to play in the WNBA. And, of course, you can't not mention the GOAT. Lauren Jackson, 43 years old. I keep saying it because it is incredible. 5th Olympic Games, and it's not like she's just being carried on there as a little bit of, we'll give you this as a thank you. She's dropping genuine points still. And even in the warm-up she was. So there's some serious things ahead for these Opals, and I'm very keen to watch them too.
With Lauren Jackson, the 5th Olympic Games at 43, you kind of think, they've 5 Olympic Games, they're swimmers, they start when they're 16. They go till they're about 30, I'm just trying to think, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. So if you run the math on Lauren Jackson, playing a sport where you don't really get chosen at young, so for a 5th Olympic Games, that's incredible.
And she didn't play in Tokyo either.
That's even more sensational, the fact that she didn't play the last one. So I just find it fascinating. When you say 5th Olympic Games, you're thinking, swimmer 32, 36 max.
She's incredible athlete.
Unbelievable stuff. And the fact that earlier in the year that she was asked about it on the radio, and she's like, I don't know if my body will get me there, and I don't know if they'll pick me, but I'll go if they do. Like, mate, you are seriously one of the best ever.
But that's the type of person
exactly
that is.
Right.
Yeah. It's not I should be the first one on the plane. Like, I should be there already. It's no, if they pick me, and that's why you like it. You love those type of people because guess what? They're not in your face telling you how good they are, going, you know what, I'm the best player. I deserve to be there. There's a few of them that come to mind.
That's
that,
why
that I'm not even going to name
But
because
you
know who I'm talking about, and it's. I'm like, that's the reason why, like, I like these players, like Lauren Jackson, is because it's, hold on, she's there going, hold on, if it's what's best for the country, pick me. If not, I'm okay with that.
That's just what Australians are brought up as sports people, I think. The best ones are usually like that, and we love it. We're not like the US, and sometimes that's bad because you don't get as much, personality, some people can say, but I'd rather it 10 days of the week because it's great. But we're going to try and get through, if we are to get through the Opals. They're going against Canada, Nigeria, and France. So big pull there for them. But you mentioned earlier, Speech, the swimming kicks off this weekend. It always starts an Olympic campaign, and it probably draws the most eyeballs because it's simply just cinema. I mentioned before on one of our trivias, I think Ariane Titmus and Katie Ledecky going at it again, which is an absolute thrill. I have the popcorn out for that one because we're talking about two of the most talented in the profession women's swimming has probably seen, or I've seen in my lifetime. It's a big call, but they are lightning quick.
Oh. Lightning quick for the distances they swim. It's just one of the best rivalries, I think, in swimming. Like, obviously,
and it's that thing
I
again. Ledecky is very, very arrogant. She's got all her medals. That's okay.
I think the
very
rivalry
arrogant,
of
and
Australia
Ariane just wants to kick her in the butt.
I think it's the Australian versus American rivalry in the pool.
Yeah.
We were talking before we started about how you look at the Olympics and you look at each sport and the teams that do well in the forget about the team events, right? The teams that do well in the solo events have a really good foundation in their own country. Like, you look at an Olympic trials being held in a NFL stadium. That's how big swimming is over in America. And Australia, I think, if we could, we probably would have the Olympic trials just, right in front of the MCC on the MCG. Like, that's how big it could be. Like,
well, it is anyway.
Yeah.
Theirs is big because they're a big, fanfare, pumping everything up way bigger than it should be sort of nation.
Yeah.
Ours is just as big.
But ours is more of a, let
ours is an excellence
let our performance do the
like
talking.
We're talking, we had world records set at ours.
Yeah.
Like, that's how competitive
as
it
I
is.
said, let our performance do the talking rather than let our show do the talking. It's
like Kate Campbell was too slow, and she is one of the best we've had this century.
But that's the
insane.
Thing. This is what I'll go back to. It's the foundation of the individual sports. You swimming in Australia and America, you will always see the production of greater athletes when your competition is right off the bat. It's in your own country. So then guess what? If it's not by the time you get to the Olympics, if you manage to get to the Olympics, by that time, you already could have said you've
basically already done one.
I was going to say you've competed against the best
Basically,
because the best are in your own backyard.
If you're at the Australian swimming trials, you're swimming against Olympians.
Yeah.
Whatever event you're in.
Yep.
Because we're an Olympic nation, and swimming, the Dolphins are just synonymous with this, like, Australian culture because swimming is our thing. We're covered, surrounded by water. So you grow up, you swim. A lot of us are bad at it. I'm horrible at race swimming. I'll swim for recreational fun, but I was horrible at race swimming. But someone I used to swim or watch swim at my school, in my house even, I think at one stage, was Bowen Goff. I don't think I included the photo, but I think he's announced his retirement recently. He was a champion, but again, it's just the nature of the sport in Australia. It gets tough sometimes, and sometimes you miss by a couple milliseconds. And even if you are the quickest in Australia, if you miss that trial time by a couple of milliseconds, you still don't go.
It goes back to, I think the biggest thing is it's such a focus on excellence that, hold on, you might be the best, but when it comes time for the Olympics is every 4 years.
Wins.
Guess what? No, guess what? Yeah, you were the best 4 years ago, but in the last 4 years, there have been so many people training to overtake you that it's inevitable that somebody would. And
Yeah.
sometimes, okay, it takes a while for you not to get overtaken, but more often than not, and it's one of those bittersweet moments where it's great to see the up-and-comers, but it's also sometimes people don't get the swan song that they deserve.
That's
And-
why it's such a big celebration when these athletes win, right? Because
Yeah.
some of them
It could
will
be their
never make
last.
it.
It could be
But
their
you start as a swimmer, you choose that sport, and you get into that sport as a swimmer knowing it is one of the most cutthroat sports
it's
in the
grueling.
world.
It is grueling. You've got to wake up, like they wake up early, you train
Every
and
day.
then you go out,
Hundreds of laps,
hundreds
early
of-
in the
but
morning,
it's hundreds
and you
of
might go nowhere.
But then, okay, you might have a job at the same time. So guess what? You're doing hundreds of laps, doing all the laps
You do get a swimmer's
Pre-work?
body with it, though, which
Yeah.
I wouldn't
No, like,
mind.
It starts early. Like these are like school kids.
Yeah.
Like it starts.
I
at school
remember
age.
people that were swimming in school, and you hear about them. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I got up, watched some cartoons. What about you? Oh, I got up, went to the local pool, and did a few.
Then you might have weights
Did
in the
50
afternoon
laps.
when you get home from work
Yeah.
or school. It's like
It's incredible.
it's one of those sports, and I think Bronte Campbell said it best in that doco I watched the other night. She said, "Look, we know what it's about. We understand it, and it is annoying because we would walk onto almost any other country in the world's team without even needing to trial. But we're Australian, and we're not going to sook about that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you're born Australian and you want to do swimming, it is tough.
Well, you want to do
and
any
if,
sport, I
if
think.
the clock isn't on your side, the clock's not on your side, you're not going.
Yeah.
But very keen to watch our team because you know they're all going to give their best, and they're the best we possibly could have, as by the clock, which is something that doesn't lie because it's numbers. Very keen. Shayna Jack, another swimmer I'm keen to see. She's been through a lot, obviously, with
Yep.
things that were alleged, whether proven or not, whether it happened or not, don't know. We're backing her in because she's in green and gold in this weekend. And Cam McAvoy as well. I've been told the other night by a good friend of mine at work that he could break the record in the 50. He's saying, this is Tomo at work, my good friend, said that they could break the 21s in the 50 free. So if you have any understanding about how quick that is, it is mind-blowing. But that is the rivalry that it is. Australia, US, Canada, China, like these nations that really put into swimming, the stuff they produce is incredible. So I'm definitely someone that, regardless of what it is, what event it is, couldn't care less who's competing if there's no, world-class swimmers in it. I'm watching the swimming because it's always entertainment. Can't wait for it. Like I said, I think it kicks off on Saturday. So we're very pumped for that. And then it's the swimming without the water in the pool. It's the athletics. On the purple track, I don't think we have a photo of it, but the athletics track is purple in Paris for the 2024 Olympics, which is a change. Usually you see the orangey sort of red or maybe green, blue I see a lot of. Not purple, but I don't mind it. We'll wait and see how it goes. But that track is obviously around the field, and on the field, probably top 5 on the events I want to watch in this Olympics is Big Matt Denny in the discus. This fella is one of the more determined people to get that gold medal than anybody I know. And obviously I did a bit of work at athletics at the start of the summer. We talked to him, but he's saying, look, these world champs and stuff, I've been close. I've been in that top 3. And the way that I'm throwing this year, he is in serious form, career best. He's a genuine shout. And he's just a bit of an Aussie larrikin. He's a big fella, as most discus and shot put throwers are. And he's entertainment. So I'm very keen to watch Matty Denny in the discus. Make sure you get that timing and tune in for that. And our duo world champions, Nicola Ollie-Slugs and Nicola McDermott. And of course, Lean Gather's own Eleanor Patterson. There's your purple track and field. In the high jump, which it has got to be everybody's, got to be in everyone's top 5 best events. It's so cool, high jump. Maybe I'm biased because I was pretty good at it back in the day. But and especially since we've got not one but 2 former world champions in it, it's going to be unbelievable. There's also, I forget her name, but there's the Ukrainian lady who's an absolute star as well, who I think beat both of our girls last time. It's going to be cinema. I'm not sure if Starkey's jumping in the men's side for us again, but
I haven't seen him.
he's quality as well. Just looks like Big Mitchy, but a little bit shorter and a bit younger looking. So that's great to see. High jump I love. All the athletics really is very watchable stuff, even down to some of the things that people might not understand, like your hammer throws and stuff like that. But they're all very cool. I think all of our distance runners, we've talked about Jess Hull on the last few episodes, but all the distance from, 800 right through to the marathoners. We've got such a great crop. It's going to be so cool to watch. But there's only one event for me on the track that holds a special place, and that is the 4x100. And you can give me any men's, women's, like any country. It is the pinnacle for me, because it is, old-fashioned, who's better, we'll settle it in a foot race, and it's not individual. It is your country's best, quickest people against my country. It's war on a track. Who's going to get there first? Like, this is who's better. And again, maybe I'm biased because, I grew up watching that Jamaican team with Usain and Johan Blake and the Americans and DeGrasse for Canada, which it's so cool. And there's so much drama because it's very hard to do. You're going at full lick. You've got a bat and you've got to give it to someone. And maybe it's because our women's team will be in it for the first time in like 20 years. And not only that, but that women's team has set Australian records. They went over to the Bahamas and qualified, setting an Australian record. You've got Tori Lewis in there, who's the quickest over the 200, an absolute superstar at, I think, 19 or 20 years old, which is crazy. Ella Connolly's in there as well, and Bree Masters, who gets us going. Unbelievable. And then the flying mullet, Rowan Browning, I just want to see him do a little bit better this time in the 100. I think he's got genuine talent. So that's the athletics for me. That's how I look at it, boys. I've got a few of my favourite other events as well. You could probably give yours. But I put down beach volleyball mostly because of the deck. And if you've seen a photo of the deck, if you haven't, make sure you look up.
Right there.
Because, you're not going to get a better deck in world sport. Like, you've got the Eiffel behind you. You've got the beach volleyball, which is one of the most followed sports anyway. It's going to be an absolute movie, that. And I think we'll do all right too. We've got some talent in that sport. Weightlifting's a favourite of mine, just because, it's just a bloke going, I'm just going to push this thing up, and I don't mind it. Soccer, we've got the Matildas
yep.
off insane momentum off that World Cup. We didn't win, but the momentum we gathered from that. We don't have Sammy Kerr, which is a little bit like LeBron if they didn't have an NBA if they didn't, US if they didn't have LeBron. But I mean, they're still one of the best teams in it.
Yeah.
I think they kick off pretty shortly too, maybe before the ceremony. So keep out for that, boys. But yeah, the Matildas, it's huge for them. Medal is a chance. And medal is what they want to be gunning for. We've got a great lineup, so very keen to watch the soccer. But then also on the men's side, obviously it's an under-23, but the men's soccer is so cool to watch. Yes, we're not great at it, but the talent on those European nations and obviously America will come over thinking they can win that too. It's going to be great. I can't wait for that either. Skateboarding was... I was a query last time, but it was bloody awesome in Tokyo.
Won you over from that, I remember it. And it
was unbelievable. And we had the young fella, Keegan Palmer, I think his name was. I think he was like 12 or 13 when he won that gold last time. Hopefully he's back, because he could go to another 6 Olympics, the kid. That skateboarding's going to be pretty cool. Jess Fox and the canoe is one I always
Obviously
make sure I don't miss.
So it's the Fox sisters this time. So both.
Yes.
Hopefully we can get...
And they're sort of at home too, because I'm pretty sure their mother is French, and they do speak a bit of French as well. So home conditions, you could say, for Jess.
Well, hopefully we get a few more from that.
Triathlon is just the pinnacle.
I think
it might be a little bit...
in Australia, triathlon has been the go-to.
Yeah. It might be a little bit boring to watch because it's so long. Like, you're tuning into people running. Oh, now they're on the bike.
Are they swimming in the sand for that one?
Yeah, that's a big challenge. And we've talked about that, I think, as well, with the French locals deciding to take a dump in it, because it's not great, though. It doesn't look good at all, does it? I mean, you can't be putting people in that, surely. We'll wait and see. The surfing, and it's going to be great, but it's cool for me because if you haven't seen, all the surfers have their own Olympic village, and it's a cruise ship. So they're just on a cruise ship, because obviously France, you're not going to be surfing in the middle of France, in the middle of Paris, everybody else. They're off the coast.
They're in it's
Tahiti, aren't they?
Oh, I can't remember where the place is, but
Cannes?
Yeah, Cannes. Yeah. Where they have
the film festival. That's what I was thinking of. Cannes,
where they have the normal WSL for France. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Tennis is going to be massive, mostly because we have as good a chance as we've had for a long time with De Minaur being a top 10 seed. And our women's draw is awesome as well. But then if you look outside of the Aussies, which we don't like doing too much, but how's the Spanish lineup? You got Rafael Nadal and the young goat, Carlos Alcaraz. Like,
It's a bit unfair.
and you might be thinking, oh, but Raf's old, he's injured. Like, he didn't play Wimbledon for this whole, like, he has waited this whole month to rip into this Olympic action. And, where is it? Oh, yeah, the clay courts. So that's going to be an absolute movie. But the main thing for me, which shocked me during this week, it will shock a lot of people, but going back to the Aussies and our spirit, you can't fault it, because Matty Dawson, the hockey ruse, this is the sort of stuff you got to sacrifice if you want to try for that gold medal.
Sacrifice the finger. I was saying to you, I don't get it, but I'm not in that position
It's
to
your
understand
ring finger.
it.
You don't need
no,
it
but
too
I'm
much.
saying I'm not in the position to understand it. I would understand it if for him, it's his life's work to get to this moment.
You've trained
to
for
play,
this, yeah.
train for it. So that, as I
And
said,
the
I'm
main
not in the
thing here-
position to understand it.
The main thing here is the hockey roos are phenomenally good.
Yeah.
Like, lately, and basically for the last 20 or 30 years,
They've been
we win pretty much everything. Like, we compete
we're
really hard.
we're in the top 5 every top.
Men's and
Your
women's.
Expectation is medals all the time.
And if
Yeah.
anyone that isn't a massive sports person or isn't, a massive Olympics person ever goes to me, what's some sports that aren't big that you like watching that I should watch? I always say hockey.
I always say hockey, and I always go hockey.
Because it's enjoyable to watch as well.
Olympics to do. I always love watching the hockey. Now, before
What are your guys' favourites?
I'd have to say hockey. Baseball's not in it this year, or softball, so that's a shame. I did enjoy that.
You're going to be watching the breakdancing?
Probably.
I reckon I'll give it 5 minutes.
Probably not.
I'm very intrigued to suss it out to see what the sort of the format is, but I'm excited for the cycling.
Cycling in the velodrome's always good.
Yeah.
I think I'll be partaking in most of the highlights. Surfing will be one as well. And correction, it is in Tahiti. I just had to check that.
That's why they'd be on the boat.
Yeah. But I think I just love watching the Olympics and taking it all in.
Yeah.
When it's in the more preferred time zone, like it was in Tokyo, I basically I was working on it, so I had to actually consume it, but I was fully invested in it.
Some of these might be a challenge.
Yeah.
I know the rugby sevens, which is tonight as we record on Wednesday. I think the Aussies played about 3 a.m.
No, but this is the thing, right? I do it with a lot of international sport where I'll either get up and I know the first thing I do not check social media. I will go to either watch the replay if it's something I wanted to watch, or I will just watch highlights. And I will spend
And there's such things as minis and recaps which people do, which really help people out, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of those. But not great time zones for a lot of them. The opening ceremony is one of those. It's at 8:24 p.m. Friday night in Paris, but for us who will not be there, it'll be 4:24 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Just realised the NFL season's starting early.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I was thinking about that last night.
It's pre-season.
Funny you say that. I was thinking about that last night in bed, and I was sort of thinking my body clock's real weird at the moment. Like I'm knackered, but I struggle to sleep until 2 a.m. at the moment. And then I'm like, I've done this for that many years now that my body's used to about this time of the year, sort of taper off and start waking up at 3 a.m. So I think I'll be okay with it. If there's games big enough, you just watch them live. If not, like Wood said, you watch the highlights. But there is an app. I've downloaded the app. If you're into the Olympics and you want to follow the Aussies, go to the 2024 Olympics app. It's on your app stores. I'm sure you can get your hands on it. I just tapped in, and then in 2 seconds I had the schedule for the next couple of days, which really helped me set this up. You can stay up to date there. You can listen to us. We'll be trying to share everything around our socials and on the podcast. And of course, you can watch the action on Channel 9, who have the rights this year, which is sad at one point because you won't be hearing Bruce McAvaney on 7 call the 100 metres, which is a little bit sad, but also great because you'll get some new voices on there. Channel 9 do a great job. The documentary the other night was phenomenal. I'm sure the rest will be as well. I can't wait, boys. I cannot wait for this Olympics. It's only been 3 years, so we haven't had to wait as much.
I haven't had to wait as long as I don't know if you can tell, but I am excited as well for it.
And something else that we love and will be following very closely even though the Olympics is on, it doesn't stop. It's the AFL footy season. Round 20 is this weekend. Round 19 was just completed. And we didn't have to look too hard for some good photos of this week, because the story is, and I'm not being arrogant here, but the reigning premiers are officially in the bin. Everybody loves that, because the reigning premiers this year are Collingwood. And it was my young Hawks who put them in there. And put them in there with grace as well, and respect, as you can see here.
I was going to say, like, before this game, I thought if Hawthorn are to win, it will be a close game. Both sides will be competing hard, and I was hoping either way, close game. Looked at the scores, not even worth watching, and it was
just on Guinea as well. Everybody knows this story. Played in that grand final last year. Was a larrikin at Collingwood. Everybody else didn't like him. Collingwood hated when people booed him because of his personality that he would show. Comes out on the weekend, leading disposal winner, 2 snags as well. Kisses the Hawthorn badge because he's a Hawthorn man. He grew up a Hawthorn supporter. It's where he wanted to be. But most importantly, the reason he's doing all this stuff for me is because he feels so much more comfortable at this club. He's great mates with those Collingwood boys. Fly McRae, great coach, sure. But as much it is surprising to all of his former teammates, Sam Mitchell just lets these blokes go. And I didn't love it. Like, it's risky. Obviously, if he started to let them do this at the start of the season and we kept losing and they're doing it, it's not great. You get flamed for that. So It might be result dependent, but I think you do it anyway, because it's the sort of people that play football these days. And I heard, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, someone said it the other night on one of the shows on Fox, that it's the way that kids are these days. Like, kids will go down to the park and they want to celebrate and they want to be themselves, and that makes them love football more. And I said it a few weeks ago when we had the Young Giants fella up on the screen.
Yep.
Remember when you used to love footy when you were a kid? That's why.
Oh, I think...
And that's why you still love footy deep down. You analyse it, you love it because of this stuff too.
I don't know about you, but as a kid, I'll include you into this as well, Speechy. It might have been a bit longer since I was a kid, but...
Black and white.
if you're in the backyard, you got the footy in hand, you kind of will replicate the plays of your heroes did, commentate yourself playing it, pretending you're that person, whether it be Franklin running down the wing or, in my case, Stewie Lowe or Nicky Winmar or Nathan Burke. You idolise your heroes. So when people do this, like they're going to be kids, Hawthorn fans and maybe AFL fans, that will be like, oh, the opposition are getting into me. Guess what? We're winning. Okay.
And it's only good for the league, if you ask me, because it's a little bit of American stuff.
It doesn't make it dull. It makes it exciting. Yes, okay. You're seeing a former player in different colours isn't great, but at the same time, footy is a business, and I will
let him go.
I will never boo somebody who has played for St Kilda and then goes to another club.
That was the funny part. They were building the absolute roof off him, which is hilariously ironic, as Speech said there. But, I think for me, it's only good, like I said, for the league. It's a little bit of, American-like, but the good part. Like, I like that part of American sport. Some people, like I mentioned it before, the Dale, Soph, hates it when I watch the American football and they're carrying on in the end zone and stuff like that. Like, you just a bunch of, like, what are they doing that for? Turn it up. But, like, I think, like, why not? Because that makes the players more personable and makes scoring like, oh, how good is this?
Like, they're at the end of the day, they're elite level athletes, but they're human.
And you worked hard for that score. Like, you're knackered.
Still need to actually come through. And I think it's great that it's like, hold on, he's not letting the negativity of what happened previous years or what's happened in this season with Collingwood fans. I've seen social media comments going absolutely abysmal. Collingwood fans.
Yeah.
And I just think if you're willing to actually say that to another human being, just because they're not wearing the colours of you.
I just think
like, I'll put this jacket. I'll put my Saints jacket on now, and it's like, okay, for me to then abuse Speechley who's wearing a Carlton beanie, why? Like, why would you do that?
Some people do, but I think you can never have too much happiness in the world. That's all that this is. They're just enjoying their work because they worked hard to get that score, put
Yeah.
that score on the board. But the best part of it for me is, and this is the last thing I'll say on it, it's really, really cool, which is the main thing. Like, it makes AFL cool, makes it less bland,
Yeah.
makes it less serious, which is what we want, that American side, the good part of American sport. But the main thing for me is they still switch on, and he, right after that, like, he'll do that sort of stuff, and he'll go straight back in head first for the ball. And he'll set up exactly where Sam wants him, and they'll play the same way still. Like, it's not like they're carrying on and doing all this stuff and then running out free on their own and hurting the football team. Like, they're still switched on. When the play's on, they're switched on.
Yep.
But when the goal goes through and they've got a few seconds, yeah, they'll enjoy it. And every single one of them, everyone you hear on in the media say how much fun they're enjoying, how much they're enjoying the season. It's lifted the young guys. You know, James Sicili's out there playing with a stuffed shoulder, but enjoying it because all these other guys are enjoying it. Photos after, love the whole thing. But the round as a whole, it's not all going to be hawk talk. And the league must have got annoyed with me pumping up how good and how close the results were, because on the weekend, Woods went the other way. 7 games decided by big margins, only 2 decided by 5 points or less.
Well, both were decided by 2 points.
But those 2-point games,
Rippers.
both of them, absolute rippers. Like, 2 of the best we'll see all season. It's also always good when your club isn't involved and you don't mind who wins. They're always great to watch.
Friday night was a good one.
Friday night, the Scarecrows, I'm going to call them. That's all they are for the rest of this season. They can't make the 8, but they can scare.
I was going to say, they can't make the 8, but they can end team season or team runs. And, like, Essendon losing these 4 points against Adelaide could prove costly for a 4-point for a top 4 spot at the end of the season.
That's a game. It's so Essendon to do, and I set that off air before, but it is.
But it was such the opposite
game you
to
have
the
to
last
win.
time they played.
You have to win. You're at home on a Friday night to show everybody you've finally arrived. You're not going to bomb out this year. You're going to win that final, and you're up 3 goals in stoppage time. So the last, minute or 2 in the last quarter, and you give them all up, and then you give up the Rochelle one who wins it for the Crows. But that's just the sort of club they are, and they've been like that all season. Like, they haven't ever been a team this year, not once that I can remember, that has been, we're going to actually push into the finals. They've just been that team that goes, we know our best footy can contend. We can't quite make it, but we'll scare the living crap out of everybody. So that's what the Scarecrows, and I'm scared because we've got them on Sunday. And that's just what they can do. They've got a great team. Ben Keys, I said this to my mate walking out on Friday night, he just might be the best average footballer in the competition. He's like, you would not put him in the top 20, top 30, but he is he'll win you a game.
He loves to show up against the big clubs. Like, he dominates. Every time we play Adelaide, he dominates. And
Bloke kicked 5. I didn't even know that, and I was at the game, but he kicked 5.
It was good to see him do that to someone that wasn't us for a change.
But he's exactly what Adelaide is. Like, works hard, doesn't care what the score is, just wants to genuinely shock the living daylights out of the people they're playing. Kick 5 had an absolute day, which is great to see. The Suns just might do it, boys. They actually might finish perfect and imperfect, each at home and away. It's unbelievable. They chose a new way to get it done this time. I'll speak about that in a segment later. But on the other hand, in the Expansion Cup, Toby Green's back, and I love seeing it because he's one of the best players to watch when he's going. 2 Goal of the Year contenders in that match, and the Giants just keep on going, which is good to see. I think they'll be there at the end of the year for sure. They love the late back end of that season. They love just hitting their straps. They just come from nowhere. The Dogs are just a better animal. Just whether it's football, whether it's real life, they're better than the Cats. Much rather have a dog, and it was dog weather down at the Cattery, which I love seeing. The Cats were in their retro strip with the big hoops and the collar, and the white parts were brown, not white, in the first 5 minutes. The Dogs players said, I think Jamara said it wasn't very safe, but that's football, mate. Like, that's how it's been forever. And that's what happens when you go out into the country, which Geelong is. I love the Cattery. I love how it went down. Unfortunately, you didn't get a result. But Ed Richards and Tom Liberatore, it's their sort of day. That sort of day is perfect. And for, Ed to show so much skill in those conditions just shows you the sort of player he is. I've loved him even when he'd get, 1 game in every 5 at half back. I thought he was a real player. Threw him in the midfield, and all of a sudden he's just become Tom Liberatore Part 2, but with better skills. But Libba was always going to have a great day in conditions like that. And Another player that's arrived for me is Jamara, finally. He was a big cost to the Dogs. Obviously, very highly touted. People saying, could be an ex-Franklin sort of type when he was coming in. Big praise.
Yeah.
And he's showing that over the last couple of weeks. Your Blues saw that firsthand.
20-4.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad.
And he's a pretty humble guy and he's cool as well, which is awesome. And then obviously they've still got the Bont, who's top 2 in the competition, so they can go as far as they want. I'm not too fussed on the Cats. I think they'll be fine, but they're just so up and down. I mean, they tore us apart, and then they beat Collingwood, and then they go out and they get spanked on their home deck. Weird. The Lions and the Swans, that's a game of the year. That felt like spring, like it was sunny. It felt like, springtime. It's that first elimination final on the Saturday afternoon. Like, it just had that feel. Like, if you didn't
definitely felt like an early final, and obviously they are contenders, but...
And the way they were playing, if you didn't know what the date was and time, you'd actually think, I'm watching a final right now, an actual final.
Yeah.
And the Lions pulled it out which is good for them because they haven't been huge in close games this year over the last few years.
Well, they're continuing their run of whatever you want to call it, where about a month and a half ago you basically were ready to go, this is season done.
Yeah.
And a few teams were like that, yet I think Brisbane are the only team to actually perform into the position where they're well in premiership contention now. You rule them out at your own peril. Like, okay, I ruled them out, and I'm there going, okay, I was wrong.
Yeah. Their list is so good, and it's not about that what's on paper, but it's that good. We all tipped them to make the grand final pre-season for a reason. Like they're built like that, and I couldn't believe when some people, it was only some, but some people were saying, Fags is done. Like, come on, mid-season. Like, the bloke's unbelievable. He's got such a connection with him. And he talked on 360 the other night, and he was just saying, I never really was ever negative with them. I knew we just had to fix a couple of things. We were fine. The stats told us we were fine, and they are. And they got players back. Like Ashcroft is back. They probably won't have a couple. Like Coleman's probably big, but you still back them to go as far as they want to go because they're just at the Gabba. They've been shaky, but now with big crowds, they'll be fine. The close game thing they've got under their belt as well, and they've got another one of the superstars of the comp in Lachie Neale, who's getting a midfield under him that's playing quite well, and that forward line's one of the most dangerous in the comp. So big news there. Sydney's thing is like just the fight that they showed. That's just that Bloods culture. Like they had no right winning that. They were 3 on the bench from quarter time. Will Hayward played on with the busted ankle, and they still put up a real fight and were only overrun in that last quarter, as they probably always going to be. So I think they've got the cattle as well. But the thing for me, which I think was discussed a few nights ago as well, is I think Bucks was saying on the couch, they've had the same lineup for so much of this season. Like they've only used about 23, 24 players. Is that going to hurt them? Because they're probably going to have to use that back end of that list in the last bit of the season. And if they have to play a few of those guys in the finals, how ready are they? So that's the question for them.
A big thing for them also, do we have sort of any concerns with them in terms of like close games? Like every single loss has been less than 5 points, and they haven't won. All their wins have generally been pretty comfortable wins. Like, is that heading into the pointy end of the season?
It's a good point you make.
It's a little bit concerning if I was a Sydney fan.
100%. Because it's sort of the opposite to Collingwood over the last couple of years. You're not confident. You're even more nervous because you're nervous anyway in a close game. But then when you know that you usually lose them, it can't be a good feeling. I can't relate to it. Maybe the fish can. But but when I watch them, I do think they don't control too much. Like they control it when they need to. But a lot of their game is control it so we can get to a good kick, and then once we get that, we just go.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so streaky. Like that's why they could put like that big score on the Saints real quick, but they end up losing that game. They put big scores, on Geelong. They came back and won that one because they just had that real streak when they just kicked 5 in the last 10 minutes sort of thing. But then at the end of games, you can't just go streaky. You've got to actually hold on, which is, the sort of thing that Brisbane did. It could be a big question mark, especially in the last couple. I mean, they've got, the last month to work on that. You don't want to try and manufacture a close game, but at training and stuff, and because you just know the first final they get will be a qualifier. Likely that it'll be at home, but it'll be close. It will be close as, regardless if they get you guys, they get Freo, they get anyone else who wants to jump in there. It'll be close. Speaking of Flagmantle, they are the official owners of the Melbourne Football Club, who are absolutely in the bin. I said it a couple of weeks ago, and they came out and beat Essendon. And I thought, oh, maybe, but no, they are in the bin. There'll be a massive outcry at Football Club at the end of this year because they won't make the finals. I think Goodwin will be in a massively, his seat will be on fire. Clayton Oliver things come up again. You know, how good is their young talent? They still need a forward. Like, Van Rooyen's great, but they just need that scoring power. Max is injured, Petraka's injured. So how good are they when those guys don't play? Awful. And then on the weekend, Caleb Sarong just decided that he would take the absolute mickey. And at half-time, 24 clearances to 3. Like, that is just unbelievable. You can't be doing that at AFL level. And at the end of the day, everyone's saying, well, they didn't really pick a ruckman. They had Tom Fullerton, who's been great.
About to say, yeah.
Been great for Brisbane, decent at Melbourne. Decided, no, you don't want to come over. We're all good. You're not all good. I'll tell you that much, they're not all good. And they got spanked again by the Dockers. The other results we haven't mentioned are obviously our teams, Woods, the Saints. Big win.
First win by more than 70 points in
scoring. Welcome.
Quite some time. I forgot what it was like to actually see the team score. But I was at local footy, so I didn't actually get to watch all the game. And
over 100 Woods. Unbelievable.
Like, that's it. This is the thing, though. This is where it's hard because it's against West Coast, so it's really hard to see where are we. Like, when you pull these performances out, like when we played against Sydney, where's that against the teams that you should be dominating and you should be winning? It's like, where was that in the game against Adelaide?
And that was only a week later.
No, that's the point. It's like,
yeah.
The Sydney game wasn't that long ago. So I'm talking about recent games where it's
like, where's it gone?
Where,
so
like, why haven't we had this all year? Like, what is it? Is it been just set up, people injured, so all the makeup of the team has to be different? Like, is it still experimenting on and off field?
If you know they can do it, why don't they? I think that's the question.
I think that's the biggest thing. And it's like there's been times, I think Carlton have the same, where you just wonder, where's the team you watched a week ago? Or it might be the opposite. It's like, oh, why didn't we do this a week ago? That's all I have to really say about Saints because it was against the Eagles. So no disrespect to the Eagles, but it's not a win that I'm there going, oh, actually, it is a win. I'm actually happy that we finally won by more than 70 because we usually don't do that. And we usually, I think I've said it to you a couple of years ago that we play to the level of our opposition. Yep. And I still feel like we do that, but
on the weekend you're above.
Yeah,
not that it's hard.
It's the first time where we've actually gone, no, we're not going to play to the level of our opposition because we're above them. I think, like, I'm going to repeat that is, I got laughed at. I can remember getting laughed at, but it's like when you look at it when we were making...
No, you've got a case.
It's like we were making finals or we just missed out on finals. It's you just look at, well, hold on, we're playing this team. We can compete against Sydney, but then we can't compete against Adelaide, or we compete against Carlton. We beat Carlton, but the following week we're playing the second bottom team and we're only scraping over the line, or they beat us for some reason. It's like that is where I've seen St Kilda the last few years is we are matching our opposition. We're shutting them down, but there's been no, we actually need to score. This week it's, no, we'll score. Don't worry about shutting them down. Like that's...
Max King who?
Yeah. And keeping that form is the hardest thing in football, like playing the same way every week, regardless of who you're against, regardless of what's happened the week prior. You just want the same thing, the same consistency, which is what these fellas have been doing. But before we get to them speech, the Blues similarly had a bottom side on the weekend, and as Woods says with the Saints, decided to make a little bit hard work of it, as good as the Kangaroos were.
Mate, North are a top 8 side. I don't know what you're talking about.
Look like it at times, I'm not going to lie.
Look, full credit to them, really. Like, obviously in the end we got the job done. Just grabbed the 4 points and run. Full credit to North. Like they've got a pretty solid. Like their backline sort of holding up a bit better now than it did earlier in the season. Normally that's due to Comben. Comben played forward.
Shocked both you and I.
Which really stretched out already depleted
Wayne Carey
backline.
Comben down there.
It was like we had a bunch of injuries heading in and a bunch of injuries out of the game, which with a 4-day break heading into Port Adelaide on Friday, it's not the most ideal time to be playing a bottom side and get absolutely hammered. But I think, the Cripper, just did Cripper things again, really. When the game's there to be won, he's always there. Our midfield, is a bit teetery at the moment. But having Hewitt back definitely
he was
helped.
great.
I just did not understand why he didn't get picked a couple weeks ago. And it proved he should have been in always.
He brings a lot of pressure. I love watching him.
And it was good. It was good to finally see Curnow have a positive
You're welcome.
goals behind. It still wasn't the greatest at times. He still could have had a couple more snags, but still.
4-2 is better than 3-7, so we take a little bit of credit for that. He might deserve his comment after all.
Hogan's definitely coming for that at the moment, though. Shout out Jesse. It was just one of those games where North were throwing everything at us as a bottom side, tends to do late in the season. And
there was a time there where I was going to say in our group chat that something's happened and Clarko's just realised that he's one of the best coaches ever. But because like you said earlier, like what this team has done from absolutely nowhere, from being awful, is pretty remarkable. And whether that happened because of Alistair opening up, whether that happened because they beat West Coast and realised they could actually win games, who knows? But it was a brave effort. I'm not worried about you guys. You were right in saying that your only worry is the injuries down back. And I think it was a masterstroke from Clarkson to put Chomben forward.
I completely agree. Yeah.
He's hasn't played there for a long time.
We had Nick Newman playing on him because we had no other tools at all.
But the fact that because he was so much bigger and because you had not much else down there, all Larky had to do was pull Weeders away, and then he just kicked it up high to him. And you can't do anything because the guy's like nearly 7 foot. And then he kicked beautifully as well. 3 goals in the second quarter for Comben, the
North
Gippy
just
boy.
don't miss. That's the one thing that about them. They just don't miss.
I was going to mention that. 14-4 on the weekend as well. Like, they might be low on the ladder, but they are a team of absolute superstars. And
They've at least been practicing their kicking goals. Maybe not their delivery to the forwards, but the forwards when they get the ball.
And of course, with North against a contender again, or a good side, there was another umpiring call late that the crowd didn't really like or liked either way. I didn't quite see that one, but I remember hearing it, and it felt like one of those ones that's like, oh boy, but I don't think it mattered to the result in the end. The Blues were far too good in the fourth quarter. North couldn't quite fire the shots they wanted to, but I do want to highlight one of the runners-up to my boy of the week, which we'll hear in a little bit. He's done it again, and this bloke, they're pretty good chips, the Cheezels, but the Cheezel is better.
So good. He's so good.
35-2. He has not missed a goal this year, Woods. He does not miss. Like, seriously, you can miss me with this Nick Dacos comparison. He is miles past him. I watched Dacos butcher it on the weekend. I don't care what the conditions were. He's kicked 11 goals straight this year, the Shees. And he's gathering the football at an almighty rate. He is one of my favourites. My glorious king, the Shees. Didn't get the chocolates, though. You'll hear about who did later. But quick one on the Hawks. Sam Mitchell.
Wait. Okay, I'm just going to put a timer here to see how long he talks about the Hawks.
Yep.
I've given him 5 minutes, but I know he'll go over.
Quickly, Sam Mitchell, again, out-coaching his opponent. He is top 5 in the league. Don't come at me for that. It's facts. McRae is his bunny. He just knows Fly McRae's game plan down to a T and just wipes the floor with him. Don't ask me what happened in Gather Round. It didn't happen.
Connor McDonald.
Yeah, well, Connor McDonald usually kicks those, so we'll take that as 4 points. But we used a different style. So over the last few weeks, you've been seeing, and I saw this the other night, good analysis from on the couch. Teams have sort of been possessing the football, short kicking to beat Collingwood, and in the wet, it was bucketing. Everybody in Melbourne knows what the weather was like on Saturday. Bucketing down, and we're just handballing it. It was nearly one kick to one handball in the wet, playing dry weather football, just running them into the ground. And all of a sudden, the Wiz was getting out the back, Ginnivan, Bruced, and then Macca kicked 4 to redeem himself. And a lot of them were sort of out the back, like D'Ambrosio's couple goals were, just loose checking, and the Pies just didn't want to get back. The Hawks just genuinely tougher, which I was never surprised about. Collingwood are fake tough, like they are. And it's funny because it's a little bit of a meme, but they are. A big crowd, pumped up, wet game, but they didn't want it. And Hawthorn worked harder, and they celebrated and embraced each other more, and they wanted the moment more. Like Collingwood run out there, and we hit him in the face in the first few minutes. Warps' goal, again, loose checking. And everyone's pumped up, like to the point where Will Day pushed him to the ground. And Collingwood sort of just went into their huddles like, oh, yeah. And they might say, oh, that's just the leadership thing we do. But it just looked like they didn't actually care and they didn't want it. And it was built up like an elimination final. Like they were meant to announce to everybody that, no, we're still here. They couldn't care less. It was unbelievable from a reigning premier who looked unbeatable for a lot of last year. It was a comprehensive shellacking in the best way possible. In the end, to the point where Marbs is just waltzing through a Dacos tackle, running through the middle of the 50 unattended to snap a goal, and Brewster's just out the back because Darcy Cameron's sending torps from the goal square. Like, what are they doing? They're so bad. Anyway, very happy with the Hawks. And the best call I heard from the day was, it looks like a team in Hawthorn with unfinished business, and a team who's packed up and finished theirs, which is the hunger and heart thing we had a conversation about last time we mentioned Collingwood on the wrong end of the ledger. And it is tough to win premierships back-to-back. Good clubs do.
Yeah.
And
I think it's hard to stay motivated after you've won one because that's the ultimate goal. Like, having not been there, having not been AFL player, I'm just going the expectation of relating it to when you reach a goal and trying to follow up on that goal. Well, you've already done the ultimate goal.
Yep.
I didn't get
as
the photo,
a fan.
The best thing I saw from the weekend probably wasn't even the game. It was Luke Bruce was interviewed. I think it was on ABC, and he said, it was interesting. Nick Dacos came up to me after the game and was just asking, like, how did you guys do it? Like, how did you stay up? Like, I can't understand. I was like, well, bud, some teams do, just some teams don't. But no, I think it is that. It's the hunger and the heart. And the best way I can describe that is that if you compare these lists, and yes, on the weekend, Collingwood were down men, sure, but their midfield was probably the best they have, outside of maybe Mitch, but Mitch is slow. Probably wouldn't have picked him anyway. Yeah. Mason Cox, it doesn't impact on a day like that. So you look at Hawthorn's list at the start of this season, it's bottom 5 in terms of experience, in terms of talent, in terms of, like, would you put that out in a final and you expect it to win? Pre-season, you're probably thinking that's a bottom 5 list. They're playing top 2 football at the moment.
Agree, yep.
Like, wildly regarded.
This is kind of reminding me...
And what does that come down to? It's the 2 H's. It's H and H. And I'll shorten it for you because I'm running out of time. It's hunger and heart.
Now, it's
you got to be hungry.
It's reminding me of the St Kilda last year, though.
Yeah, if you're hungry, you can pump up and beat anyone on your day.
Yeah.
But if you have genuine heart and you want to keep going for each other, like, and enjoy it and just be yourself and, like, want to keep going, and that's the heart thing. That's why they work so hard up and down. That's the heart. You can do that. You can't do that with hunger. Hunger will get you to work forward. It won't get you to work back. You need both. And that's what this team has. And that's why players like this bloke who's 160 centimetres is dominating. That's why this guy, who Collingwood thought was no good, Lockie Schultz is better, dominated. It's why guys like James Warple, who was like 40 pick.
Well, I go back to...
John Newcomb, like guys like that who probably no one ever thinks of. Josh Weddle. Like,
I'll go back to the
Saints. You can go through the whole team. And that's why they're playing such good football. It's because Sam Mitchell or whoever's done it has instilled this hunger and heart in them.
I'll go back to last year's St Kilda. Nobody thought we would get to, like, everybody saying we overperformed. I agree with that statement, but I feel like what you've just did sums it up. There's always that team that will surprise people by either almost making finals or making finals. And then there's other teams, I'm going to use Carlton here, who they're hunger and hard, but it's the prolonged. Like, you can actually see them making, like, they are a genuine threat. Like, at the start, like, Hawthorn are at the point of, they're basically at that fork in the road right now for next season of, will they continue it? Or will they be complacent enough to go, oh, well, we're on the journey. We don't have to work harder. We don't have to do
And
the
this is
extra work.
another. It's another reason why, again, whether it's come mainly from him or it's really intrinsic in the players, Sam Mitchell has to be in Coach of the Year, like, conversations, regardless of where Hawthorn finish,
Agree.
because Hawthorn.
He's one of them. Yeah.
How many All Australians do Hawthorn have? One. Dylan Moore, maybe. James Warple had a good start. Maybe James Sicily.
He's definitely up there. Like,
So to take a team with no All Australian definites to the brink of finals, come on. Like, that Collingwood team on the weekend had 16 premiership players.
He'd almost be fifth in
Nick
my mind
Dacos
at
is
the
an
moment.
All Australian.
I don't know about you.
And then you look
but
at the top.
he's
Sydney,
in the top
Sydney will
five.
have 6 All Australians,
6
maybe.
midfielders.
Carlton will have
as
4
I
or
said-
5
no,
All
but
Australians.
As I said, I'll put him in the top 5. But, hon, you're still 11th. Like, that's the thing. I'm there going the top 5. Literally, the team's in the top 4.
But
And then Hawthorn.
we'll take out.
That's how I do that. It just Sydney from where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were last,
yeah,
how
but
they started the season and all that.
They have genuine
Yeah.
superstars. Hawthorn
Yeah,
doesn't have any of those.
But at the same time, hold on, you Coach of the Year.
Well, take out the Coach of the
that-
Year for me, and just like
I'm saying,
I'm trying to
saying Sam
get
Mitchell-
people to understand how big H&H is to football.
I'm saying Sam Mitchell is in the top 5 of the coaches.
We'll
right?
take out Sam completely and just
Yeah.
talk about the team and the way that they're playing. Like, that's why.
Oh, it's like St Kilda last
Will
year.
it stand up in a final? It's the first step. I
Yeah.
think the next step for winning a final is you do have to play.
That-
You have to have a good game
I'll
plan,
go back to what I said.
and you do have to have experience.
I'll go back to.
But having H&H in a final is the first step to winning.
But I go back to all great for one season. They're at the fork in the road now of, do they continue it or do they go, oh, we've kind of gone, we're on the path. We don't have to worry about, like, that's where I think St Kilda did a bit, and
Yeah,
they did.
after the- yeah.
They've stepped back. Will Hawthorn step forward or will they step back next season?
Adelaide very similar to that as well, because a lot of
Yeah.
people pre-season had them jumping right up. And
Yeah,
Because they-
no, but this
Let's
is
be
the
honest,
thing,
they
there's
were
a lot-
there in the finals
There's
last
a lot
year.
of
They just
seasons. Yeah, there's a
illegally
lot of seasons.
sort of.
Sorry, there's a lot of teams each season that this discussion happens about, and it's a case of, well, hold on. You can say, oh yeah, great. I think, okay, well, by your philosophy, Ross Lyon should have got Coach of the Year last year because of nobody put St Kilda in the finals. Everybody has St Kilda as a bottom 4 side, yet they made the finals last season.
Oh, I had Ross in my top 5 for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm just going, like, that's why I'm going, okay, yes, it plays a part that I'm going Sam Mitchell, looking at the thing, I'm going, yeah, top 5, yeah. But Brisbane, Fagan, from the
No chance.
turnaround in the season, no chance.
Off a grand final,
But
and they're going to finish in the top 4. You expect that. That's
Yeah,
almost
but,
bad.
But it's looking
He won't win Coach of the Year.
looking at every factor. I'm going the top 4.
He was 2-3. He wasn't 0-5.
Yeah, but he was out of, like, he was almost well and truly out of the final contention. So I'm just using the top 4 at the moment. Fremantle,
Longmuir definitely.
Longmuir isn't. Yeah, he's there.
Voss.
No.
No?
They're going to have 4 or 5 All Australians
Yeah, but
We should be
off a
where we're at.
preliminary final.
but
They were
you-
never
you-
out of contention.
No.
No.
And Longmire.
Horse.
I'm
They,
just going the
Yes,
top.
because
I'm just going the top
but,
4
but
teams.
not like.
where'd
not
they
right
finish
away.
last year?
They finished
Semi?
8th. We
Did they
knocked
make
him-
the
we,
semi?
we knocked him out in round 1.
That's right.
They just made the finals. last
Again,
year.
he's going to have 6 or 7 All Australians.
But
That list
all-
is.
hold on, this is the thing though. All Australian, like, I'm looking at other, like, a lot of
If you
factors.
finish on the top of the ladder, you're top
Yeah.
3 locked in.
No. Well, that's why I'm going. Okay, Sydney, Carlton, Brisbane, Freo, and
And Carlton,
Hawthorn.
Fagan,
In
and
terms
Voss
of coaches,
aren't in there.
well,
I would agree with that.
we'll have to wait and see. Like, this is the thing of I'm looking at not just who've they got, what's the expectations. I'm looking at the season journey. I'm looking at, okay, well, for Carlton, right? There's a huge expectation on that, and can they deliver it? If Carlton win the flag, surely that can.
But what
discuss
Mitchell's
has to
done
be
is
there.
harder than what Voss has done, and what Fagan's done.
But this is the
Oh,
thing.
Chris, you're 2 and 3.
Well,
Let's
what's the
take this.
expectation?
Let's take this
The
team off a grand
expectation from
final.
The outside is different to the expectation from the inside. Sam Mitchell might go, oh, this is the potential we've seen in these players, and we've been working towards it.
But it's
But guess what?
you
You
get the
don't see
award
that.
from the outside though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know what the inside workings are. You're looking at these factors and going, oh, well, Hawthorn have been in this tough situation. I'll look at them. I'm going, yeah, that's great. And I will think, like, right now, I can't say for sure. I'd probably go Mitchell, and I just gave you the top 5. I'd have to look at all the factors. Like, who would you replace Voss and Fagan with in the top 5 of coaches?
Top 5 coaches right now.
Yeah.
Sam Mitchell's one.
No. But this is what I'm saying.
No, Horse is in there.
I just gave you the top 5.
Horse
and
is
I'm
in
not
there.
going.
Scotty from Geelong.
Scott over who? Who would
Probably
you-
over Fagan and Voss.
I would agree.
So
And both of them, actually.
Premiership coach 2 years ago. So the expectation, like, you're going
Didn't
back-
make finals last year.
and
Lose probably your best player ever.
yeah.
But it's not close. Like the tiering there's a tiers between. I think Horse is at the moment.
Like, I
Probably
think
the
it's
best.
definitely revisit this discussion at the end of the season. but at
Longmuir has
this-
done
as I said-
unbelievably well, but at the same time, he has a lot more superstars than Sam Mitchell does.
Yeah. But I let's revisit this when, like, you see what the
Like, in
final
terms of
ladder
coaching,
is.
And like how quick some of the turnarounds have been from Hawthorn getting belted or Hawthorn playing a certain way to turning up the next week and doing something completely different is unbelievable. And I know I'm biased, and I know I said it at the start of the year, and everyone was laughing, but he genuinely is. Like, has to be said. Anyway, Woods, I went over 5 minutes, but that wasn't me, it was you. So
No. You
I was finished.
You had your less than 5 minute discussion. I will put your put that
Yeah.
hand up and say,
It's
like,
time for the boy of the week.
there was a bit of a debate there going on. It's not the
No, I'm Nate. Don't worry about it. I was having a bit of fun. And this fella was runner-up, as he tends to always be. He took a wet weather screamer. He's the best wet weather player ever because he's born and bred in Poowong, and that's just how you play down there. Absolutely love the bloke.
Which players? Can you point them out to me?
Which players are what?
Boy of the week. Which one is it?
Oh, it's none of them, but
Wait, what?
most importantly, it's this. Like, this whole thing, it's exactly what I was talking about before, but I'm over time, as I said, Woods. But great to see the boys getting in and embracing it. You know, the media's loving them now. Everyone sort of stopped going, oh, that's a bit weird. And other clubs are doing it. Everyone's like, oh, this is cool. This is like what our sport is. And like we were saying before, it gives the sport a bit more personality, a bit more colour. Ginnivan was very close because one of the coolest sporting performances I've seen in a while, like against your old team who are one of the most followed clubs and one of the most feral supporting and bigger supporter bases ever on a wet day. They're the reigning premiers. There's a massive game, and you come out as a small forward and have 30 and kick 2, like pretty close. But I mean, this one's just extra special, and it's not the Hawks. And I know I've got the jumper on because we did get the win.
Hawks.
But it's not a Hawk because all the Hawks are sort of one. Like, they're all mates and they're all equally as deserving. Like, Sis played with a stuffed shoulder, had 30. Nuke was great. Guinea was great. But this fella, talking about stuff and stat sheets, talk about going through a bit of stuff. This is a real strong bloke. And I've got so much respect for this fella. My boy of the week is Tim Membry, the skunk. 5 goals, 23 disposals, a career high. The bloke a couple of years ago, obviously, when you were talking about those finals, couldn't really compete because he was really going through it. And everybody does. Like, just because you're an AFL player doesn't mean you have to be this big tough guy that doesn't go through shit. Tim went through some shit. And I could not have been happier when I saw this result. I didn't watch the game. I was working. But when I saw this result and looked and saw the stats and how happy he is being himself right here, tongue out, to the crowd, kicking goals for the Saints. Like, that's what Tim does. And I love him. I've always had a spot for him, not only because he's a Gippy boy, he'll always be a Gippy boy, but because I enjoy watching Tim Membry play football. And he's great. He's been great for the Saints. He's had it hard. He's had to work pretty hard. He's had his injuries. He's not an elegant footballer, but he's hard and he keeps going. And for what he's gone through, he's a very, very strong man. I've got all the time in the world for people that come out and say, I'm not doing real well. I need to admit that, and I need to work on it and get myself better. And that's what he did, and he got copped a bit for it, but he doesn't care. He wants to be the best version of yourself, and that's what Marvel Stadium saw on Saturday, Woods. 5 snags and 23, if you don't mind.
It's not bad.
So he's my boy of the week.
Well, a good pick. And something else that Marvel Stadium saw on Saturday was this man's 250th.
Had to include it.
You've chosen one with a Hawthorn Premiership
Yep.
Cup. No, he's now at St Kilda as well, so I think it's a good link between our two clubs. But yeah, great to see him
I heard.
notch up 250 and Hawthorn, Fremantle, and St Kilda superstar.
I heard.
I hope you don't mind me saying that.
That's fine, mate.
Yep. Now, some people have a
I heard
you
Geordie
know,
Lewis talking about him.
superstar gets thrown around a lot these days, and you're going to
He's
have to
He's
be
a
careful
beautiful
what you
man.
say.
Beautiful man, Brad Hill, and he always has time for everybody. And Geordie Lewis was saying, look, he was quiet when he was with us, but he always made time for absolutely everybody. And he worked really hard, like one of the hardest two-way runners he's seen. And he was crucial for us. Yes, sometimes he wasn't real hard at the football, but that wasn't his role. He played brilliantly. One of the better wing duos we've seen in the comp. So congratulations to Hilly, another person who's gone through a bit of stuff, and people saying he's not a hard footballer and he's on too much money, but we love him. He's a great person, which is the thing that matters the most, and he is a very, very exciting player. And I included this photo because he was great in our grand finals in his role. And, just like looking at those with the old cup there. What's that one? 2015. It was the third one in a row, if you don't mind. So, just...
Who invited this bloke, seriously?
All right, we can move on. We can be a bit more negative now because
We're
we've got...
just getting the things to come for the later on.
We'll get into bad kicking is bad football and be a little bit more negative. And I'm not going to talk about the Hawks, although their pressure was good enough.
I'll just give you my wall of shame, and I'll let you talk about it. Okay?
Oh, go for it. I think you know who you're going to put on.
Yeah,
there.
Collingwood, Gold Coast, go for it.
You can say the Hawks' pressure was good, and I'd love to say that because I'm a confident Hawthorn supporter, but it wasn't really even the pressure. Some of these shots that came off the boot of the blokes in black and white. We're talking Kruger directly in front from 15 metres out. We're talking good players like Crisp, Elliott, like players that kick goals after sirens for fun against good teams. It wasn't even wet at the start either. Like the rain didn't come till like halfway through the second. It was whispery, cold day at the G, reigning premier, 1 goal 11 at halftime. Yeah, like there was a point where I think I said this off air earlier when I was talking to Speech about where we watched the game from. I was watching it with my good mate Will. Shout out to Minson. At Tooradin Footy Club. They've got a great sports bar in there. We're watching it on the screen. And I come in. It was about halfway through the second, leading towards halftime. And I saw the score. And we're up by 40 points. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, good lead. Didn't check how the kicking was. And then I think I saw that one of the pretty bad ones, maybe the Kruger one or whatever one came last, for their 11th behind. And I looked at it and I nearly fell off my chair. And then I burst out laughing. And at this point, Will was in the dunny. So people are looking at me, just sitting there on my own, bursting out laughing. And I was like, this is like all time bad kicking is bad football. To a point where I'm not even going to be mad. Like, I'm just genuinely embarrassed for that football club. Like, 1 goal 11. Like, that's like, I know like Wall of Shame is as pretty good as it gets, but we need something else. Like, that needs to stand the test of time.
Next week we'll have the Wall of Shame and we'll have the bin.
Like that needs to stand the test of time. Like 1-11 is unbelievable stuff. They were able to clean it up, but in garbage time where it didn't matter. The game was over anyway, and Hawthorn kicked goals on the other end anyway, so it didn't matter. And the other one, like 1-11, like it's just hilarious. Like how people let them win the flag? Unbelievable. Anyway, Gold Coast Expansion Cup. You want to show that this team you're playing against, they're an expansion. They come in later than you. They're your younger brother. Like, they've already gone to a grand final. They go to finals all the time. This is your chance. This is meant to be the year you make the finals and you show them. 6 goals, 14 at NG Stadium at the showgrounds there. They'll say it was...
Wanting to keep the record.
They'll, found a different way to lose on the road this time, but they might have been the cattle that was on the ground. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
you went there a few weeks ago, Speech. Good ground.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's quite homely.
It feels like your neck of the woods, does it? Just
I won't ask you about that game.
No, that's okay. First quarter was great. I think even though Essendon kicked 17 goals 11, which is not that bad, it's pretty good. I think they're quite lucky to escape the ball.
Well, I remember that. I was about to bring up some of their set shots.
It's
and
one of those. It's like when you kick them and how crucial they are.
like
what happens when you
late
have
in the game where you're kicking
100%.
easy goals. Like I'm talking goals that I could kick.
Yeah, does kick them. You bring up the vision.
If you think, just saying, if you think of the confidence in that, so the range factor and the angle factor come into play. Yes, I've kicked them from tough angles, but when you're kicking a set shot from like, you spray it, I just don't understand when you've like 15 out.
Yeah, it's no good, is it?
But no, I think
especially when you paid
Essendon Adelaide, good segue into game of the round.
Yeah, that bad kicking, as bad as it is. And
But
as bad
I'm
as
going to go the
football,
other game. I'm going to go the other game because of the bad kicking.
Yeah, I
I'm going
think
Brisbane,
either
Sydney.
easily. The fact that, I mean, when Adelaide came alive in that second quarter, it's some of the better football I've seen from a team this year. Like it was just electric. Like it felt like they kicked 4 goals in 1 minute. And the same could be said with the Swans and the Lions, which is a completely different feel.
Good pressure though.
I'd be happy with a genuine tie here. I know we have to pick one, but I'm going to go with Essendon and Adelaide, just because Keezer kicked 5. You're not going to see that
either
often.
way. I'm just going to bring up the ladder here because it's that time now. I'm going to get Speech to actually judge our teams here, which we've got. So we'll just have a look at the ladder first. Sydney, Carlton, Brisbane, Dockers, Giants, Geelong, Port Adelaide, Essendon, Doggies, D's, Hawks, Suns, Magpies, Crows, Saints,
Good
Eagles,
percentage booster when you play
Kangaroos
Collingwood.
and Richmond. Well, let's just say Hawthorn finally get above 100.
Finally out of 13th.
And they jump Collingwood. Good to see.
It's another thing that Sammy Mitchell has to contend with. The teams around us keep winning.
There you go. This is your team
All right.
who will win the flag. So
there's that one in the middle, mate. It's got the brown and gold on it. You'll want to take that X off, buddy.
he's taken.
I'm a man of my word. You said
He's taken Hawthorn off.
You said last week. You said whoever wins, you'll take off or put on. I said all right. So that's as much you as it is me.
You kept talking it.
So I'm going to put an X through the reigning champs because they are awful at football this year. I don't care.
They'll play good in a couple of weeks against us, don't worry.
I don't care. Well, that's going to be Pendlebury's 400. So if they don't, if they don't play well in Pendle's 400s, you might as well put them down to the 2s. But
any other teams?
I'm a little bit like you. I can't remember why we really, for any good reason, had an X on Brisbane at all because they're as
because they were
far
down.
away.
They've won the last 5 games in a row, which has catapulted them to the position where they are now.
Yeah, but they're a genuine contender. I think they're as far away from an X as you could get. Port Adelaide they got the job done. They got their business done. But is it convincing? No. Have you any idea what's going to happen with them? No. So it's just mind-boggling what anyone does with them. The Cats, like I said before, not worried. Scotty's a genius. They'll be fine. It's got the dart running around for him, so he'll get them going. Sydney injuries and the late game stuff, sure. The Giants will be fine. The Dockers are a genuine chance because my boy is getting heaps of the football, can play. Dogs, very dangerous. Bombers on knife's edge. I'll tell you what, Woods. I don't want to give you another promise here, but Saints Bombers, if Bombers lose that one, oh boy.
Okay,
it might happen again. We saw what happened last year, Woods.
You're not making any other changes?
I won't, no.
Okay, so just take a good look at that first.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So this is my one. I already had Collingwood on the X and I had Hawthorn on the X.
Do it.
I'm going to put Bombers, red X on them.
Bold, but I like it.
Mate. No,
I'm sticking with the 5 teams for now.
Right, yep.
Well, actually, you know what? I'll put one on Lions, put one on Cats, one on Dockers, and one on Swans. Just leave Carlton up. No, I think
only team in it.
I think these 5 teams are right now, and it's strange me saying that because there's still 13 teams.
Mathematically.
No. There's still 14 teams mathematically,
Adelaide's just
Adelaide,
hanging on.
even though if
I
St.
think
Kilda,
their chance of finals is like 1%.
yeah, no, it was
But
like I said
mathematically,
I said
it's
last
there.
week, St. Kilda Adelaide, the team that wins, they keep going. The team that loses doesn't. And then I look at it, I'm like, no, I'll go.
You want
13.
to take them 501 for the premiership
I'll go 13
on
because
Sportsbet.
Adelaide are 30 points, St Kilda are 28 points, Collingwood are 36 points. So I'm going to go right now. I don't see it happening, but so I'll go 13 teams. Of those, I don't like Giants. Oh, you know what? Looking at it, Giants are. I'll do that. Giants, the Red X comes off.
Yep.
I've seen enough for them to. Yeah, they're in it now. Seeing where they are in the ladder, they're fifth at the moment. The good percentage. I think right now.
I've seen firsthand that orange tsunami is once
If,
it gets going.
Have you had one of these? Would you do anything differently?
Or whose would you be more likely aligned
I
with?
think I'm sort of in the middle. I think 10's probably a little bit, even though there's still 13 that can make finals. I think 10's probably a little
Yeah.
bit
So
conservative. But I don't know. I think there's probably you probably go six or so. I mean, Brisbane, Carlton, Sydney, GWS, Freo, Dogs. Just as that 6 team, I reckon is what I would have.
yep.
Depends what Bulldogs show up. Obviously got a big
Yeah,
test against the
100%.
Swans this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of roughly off the top of my head where I'd probably have it. Obviously, if a team outside of that, like Hawthorn, surprises me, I'd be happy to own that.
It's the unproven thing.
I'm happy if Hawthorn win the flag this year. I'll be happy.
It's cards stacked
Yeah.
against for sure, and they're unproven.
But
so
as I said, there are.
it's got all the writings of if they make it, they get belted in the eliminator.
I'll go. There
Because
are
they're
13
inexperienced.
teams because Collingwood are on 36. GWS, who are on in 5th place, are on
There's a
44.
couple
So there's
imposters
two
in that
games. There's
ladder.
2 games in that area with only a few games to go. So every win will be crucial from here. And in a few weeks' time, I'm sure it
Bring
will
it up.
be.
Come on, give me that belt.
There you go.
Here we go, baby. I'm going to take it in while it happens because we've got the Scarecrows this week. We don't want to be caught out in the field because those Scarecrows will get us. But it's good to see the brown and gold along some silverware, even if that's the only silverware we get this year. Happy with that. We will defend it, like I said, against the Scarecrows. But, Speech, your boys kick off this round of football, the 20th of the season.
Yep.
It's the Blues and the Power. And for some reason, you're going to have to pack out Marvel, not the G, once again. They just hate giving you games
We
at the
do
G.
not play a single interstate side of the MCG this year, and I don't understand why. But
A little bit annoying too because Port don't play too badly there. They like to play the Marvel Stadium pretty fast under the lid.
we beat him by 50 points last year, so a replay of that would be lovely.
I support that too because I just want personally. I don't know what my vendetta is against them, but I just want Port Adelaide done because I'm sick of trying to work out what they are.
Yep.
And I support the
As
Blues.
soon
Love
as you
what the
think
Blues
you
are
know
doing
what
this
they are,
year.
they just.
They just kicked 5 goals 19 against a. Anyway, enough on them. The Blues hopefully get that one done under the lid. 7:40 on your Friday night. And then it is the blue and white Stripes against the blue and white Hoops.
Tassie.
The old one. They love sending the
In
Cats down
Hobart.
there. North Melbourne and Geelong. And the way that both of these are playing, you just don't know really. Like you expect the Cats to
Well, North
pump
Melbourne have
this.
been turning up to games, which hopefully gives Cats a scare, and who knows, this could be the game that...
They might have to have someone for my glorious King Harry Sheasel because he's just got to stop the bloke. If you get him a shot on goal, he makes you pay. But I think this one we'll go the Cats' way, but could go either way. And there's no game right at the same time this week at 1:45. Instead,
Nice.
they've changed it to 2 at 4:35. Fixturing drives me insane. Anyway, it's the Q Clash, and probably one of the biggest Q Clashes ever.
Can Gold Coast keep their streak going, or can Brisbane
I think
just
it is.
cement?
The biggest Q Clash ever. The Gold Coast Suns come in 12th. They just need to win everything to try and make their first finals. And the Lions are the best team in it right now. They are third. They are trying to book in a qualifier at the Gabba, which is very, very hard to win. It could be huge. Lions on a 7-game streak and the Suns on a perfect streak at home. One streak's going to end on Saturday afternoon. And then the other one is not equally as big, but still pretty big. It's the Bombers. Do they have anything? Are they real? Well, they get your Saints. And I think for about the 5th or 6th time this year, Woods, the Saints play a decent team off a bad result. It's just the curse. I don't,
let's just move
it's
on to
unbelievable.
that.
But another one under the lid there. Saturday night footy is the Demons trying to hold on to anything they have left in this season. Will Max play? They need him badly. And they get that orange tsunami that Speech was talking about. I think it just rolls into Melbourne and floods the G. I don't see any other result there unless Clary has a legacy game or something. Either way. And then there's another rivalry game, bit of a rivalry round this week. It's the Western Derby. Fremantle hosting the West Coast Eagles, and regardless of where these teams are, this always tends to be close. I think the Eagles won this last year, as bad as they were.
Oh, they won it
from
early in the season, yeah.
Yeah, this year. Is it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my memory serves me right. Bit of a reminder there. They're $1.11 to $6.70 favourites. They're far better, but you never know what can happen. Maybe Harley Reid and my boy Hutch get going. Who knows? Be a great one. And then Sunday, Collingwood and the Tigers. This, from seeing both these sides last week, could be the worst game of football you'll see all year. And I don't want to disrespect them like that, but from what is the best prelim I've almost ever seen a few years ago to what is now just a dead rubber. I mean, Collingwood still have a chance,
I
sure.
don't necessarily think it's a dead rubber. I think if Collingwood lose this, then they're out. If they win it, there's that heartbeat going on, which I keep talking about. So
It'd be interesting to see the crowd for this.
I'd
Because
much prefer that they do win this week. And they head to Pendle's 400th, not as depressed. But anyway.
It should still be good. They'll still get a crowd and the like. But the game of the round is first versus ninth. The Sydney Swans of the SCG hosting the Bulldogs, who you just don't know about. But they're the sort of team that just goes up there and wins by 6 goals. It's just the Bulldogs. Or they'll lose by 100. You just don't know. And that's the intrigue of it. Absolutely love that. And then, of course, the heavyweight bout to finish off the round at 4:10 over at the Adelaide Oval, the Scarecrows and the Hawks. Make sure you take in that round of football. Going to be huge, the 20th, of course, of the season. But down locally, Woods, Masala.
yeah, well, Masala, we played St Mary's Salesians and we lost by 91 points, 7-98. So then handbrake the ton.
Nice.
Not playing this week because I've got a very busy week with work. But I will be playing the last game of the season against Elsternwick at home. So that's one where I think they're second bottom or third bottom. So who knows?
Trying to look for that win. It's coming.
We might be able to get that win. So if you're able to get down, if you're able to get down this week, please do so. And I went down to watch Blackburn play Norwood. We beat them at Morden Park. And the Rezzies, though, 24-23, 192. We spoke about this earlier on in the year with the scores to 0-0-0. So
could have been even bigger.
Nothing there to really write home about because of, I believe, Norwood's percentage, if you actually look at it, is something quite disastrous.
Is it Bunyip level disastrous?
I'm just getting it up now. It is 3.27.
Okay, it's a lot worse. Yeah, that's not great.
So a tough year for the boys. I will get the points for and against.
I think that's almost the area where you get all the Carlton draftees and you whack them in that team.
So the points for...
Probably still wouldn't help.
Points against, I'll go first. 2,415.
How many games played?
Played 14.
Boy.
Wow.
Points for 79.
That's, all right. And they didn't get any on the weekend, clearly.
Norwood, our hearts go out to you, and hopefully you can get up with your resi sometime soon. We're not making fun of that, because having been on the receiving end of losses, it's not fun, and it's one of those things where you do it for the love of the game. You turn up and you keep playing, and even though on Saturday, going back to St. Salesians, I've rocked up and it's ice cold, raining, wind chill factor made it, my arms, cold, they're almost frozen, freezing, burning sensations.
You're not selling this sport to Speech very well.
If you were trying to recruit me, you're gone.
But we'll make sure we have a long sleeve for you, so, kind of gives it, and we'll make sure that we don't play the games where...
It's a patience thing because it always turns around for every club. But
it's so rewarding, and I think the biggest thing is with Masala, like not being around the bush with it, it's a club where the future is ahead of it. Is the foundation is there to build up something really great, and like it's exciting times. I'm glad to be a part of the club, and
Just got to be patient for the future. And
yeah, so
great things
hopefully
will
we'll
happen.
see. But what's going
So,
down your ways?
Well, before I get to that, talking about future, there's a couple people on the weekend that showed that they want to be part of their club's futures. And we're talking about the skunk stuffing the stat sheet before. We'll have a look at this, if you don't mind. So the Pies didn't only get their pants pulled down in the AFL, but in the VFL, our man Jackson Binns just decided to do it the same way in the twos speech. I'm sure you had a look at this. If you don't mind, he just had 45 disposals, 13 marks and 3 goals.
It's not a bad day. I think after Stench posted that, it actually got updated to 47 disposals, which is absolutely insane.
So Sench robbed him, but credit to Sench, does an amazing job. Sench footy, Sench local, all of it.
If he's not in this week, also by the way, with Akers injured, I don't know what we're doing.
And
I was going to say, like,
good old that player on the other side. Sorry to kind of move it along, but Kynan Brown, former Blackburn product.
yeah, one of the blokes that has been most hardly done by this season when he played his first game as a sub, then he was dropped, and then I think he came back as a sub, but then they didn't pick him. So he's barely played any AFL footy. He's just gone, you know what, goodie then, I'll show you. And you better pick me. 27 disposals, 19 of those contested, 11 clearances. Pretty good game for a midfielder. But for me, you see 24, and you probably think, oh yeah, 24 handballs. 24 tackles.
If you don't mind.
So for me, I love midfielders that tackle. I love them, the ones that win the hard ball and then go outside and show you that flair. I think they're the best ones. And wherever he was playing on the weekend, 24 tackles. Like, I love this kid now. He's one of my boys now because that is one of the best stats I've seen all year. And I've seen Prime have 81. 24 tackles. Like,
Nuts.
Jude Bolton's somewhere smiling from ear to ear. Like, that is incredible stuff. But hopefully you're right, Speech, and Binzi runs out in the navy blue on Friday night because it'd be rude not to pick him after that. An unbelievable performance from both of those lads. Down my way, Woods, called a game at Tooradin Rec Reserve on the weekend. It was Coralline and Tooradin Dalmore, and it was a top 5 clash. And this season, much like the AFL, Premier can come from anywhere, but I think that top 4 as close as it has been for a very, very long time. Just 2 points separating. Thankful of that draw between Coralline and Phillip Island earlier in the year. And I think that top 4, I don't want to discount the Seagulls and Kilcundabass in 5th and 6th, but there's a little bit of a tear jump. And that top 4 are just so close. And on the weekend, to make it even closer, Inverloch Colmac played Coralline, and you see that one loss in their column. That was Inverloch Colmac back on Easter Saturday. So huge game there. We'll be calling that on SEN. And then Nana Goon played Tooradin Delmore. So anything can happen. There's 4 weeks to go, and could not be more excited to see who wins the premiership. The reigning premiers are my mob Inverloch Colmac, but Coralline look like the best team in it right now. Going to be a huge game there on Saturday at the Dome. But Woods, on the weekend, I just saw this photo that was taken by Rob Gardner from Coralline, and I just thought it is country footy at its best. I'm not sure if I ended up sending it to you.
I don't think you did.
But we should
Actually,
include
I'll
that.
have a look.
We should include that later because it's an absolute ripper. It was from that game, and like you said, it was very, very wet and very cold on the weekend.
Yep, you did.
And players Coralline have these brand new white jumpers, and they weren't quite brand new and white.
They weren't white at the end of the game.
But there's a lot going on here, and that's that's country footy, and I absolutely loved it when I saw this. I put it all over the competition socials. You've got my good mate from Inverloch, Jake Denley, the umpire, trying to control the situation. You got blokes just giving each other a hug, banding together for TAC, trying to stay warm, and then you've got Will Stevenson over there just telling him how to do it, and a few others trying to get involved over here, and in amongst that, it's an absolute swamp.
Well, I think this is a great example of what the competition's been going on at the moment of the AFL's photography competition of Footy Focus. So hopefully he enters it because it's such a ripper, such a great photo of the game and tells the side of the story of it's a winter sport and it's a wet one. Kind of like I can now say I know the feeling of what it's like to be out there in conditions like that. So
it's a great way to end. Hopefully the weather isn't quite like that on the weekend. If it's cold, it's fine. If it's raining, it's fine. But we don't want that much of both. And hopefully the grounds that everybody's playing on, watching on, taking it in on the weekend are in a little bit better condition. But that is how it is. We love it for how it is. And we've loved having Speech on. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Woods, that's all from us. Make sure you take in the Olympic Games, the footy, and everything else in between during the week. And we'll see you next week on the Extra Time Podcast.